China's publication of a new map that features a so-called 10-dash line.
Senator Francis Tolentino showed to media China's allegedly new map, the 10-dash line claim.
That's the Chinese approach. We can do everything necessary, we can do unilateral actions, but you cannot react.
In a daring move set to echo across Southeast Asia, the Philippines is getting ready to unveil a new national map. And this isn't just about redrawing lines, it's a sharp message aimed directly at Beijing. This fresh version challenges China's sweeping territorial ambitions in the South China Sea. At the helm of this effort is the Philippine National Security Council, working in line with the 2016 Hague ruling and the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Sea. Their mission? To publish a maritime map that defends the country's rights at sea and puts a spotlight on China's now 10-dash line, an audacious attempt to wrap most of the South China Sea under its influence. But this isn't simply about borders, it's about building a solid base. The armed forces of the Philippines see this map as a crucial instrument for protecting marine ecosystems, securing vital shipping routes, and backing environmental goals. According to Colonel Medel Aguilar, this is much bigger than drawing lines. It's a reminder of who the Filipino people are and what they stand for. These waters aren't nameless waves. They pulse with the life of a nation. They carry culture, trade, and sovereignty deep into the future. Meanwhile, the Philippine Senate is shaping its own version of a revised map, one that will formally lay claim to key areas. These include the Calayan Island Group, Scarborough Shoal, Macclesfield Bank, the Benham Rise region, and the broader West Philippine Sea. All these fall within the Philippines' 200 nautical mile exclusive economic zone. Once that boundary ends, the waters resume their international name, the South China Sea. This marks the first time since the game-changing 2016 Hague ruling that Manila is publishing a new maritime map, one that counters China's original 9-dash line, now turned into 10. That ruling made it crystal clear. Many of the Spratly Islands sit inside the Philippines' exclusive economic zone. These waters legally belong to the Filipino people. But the nation's reach stretches far beyond the western horizon. To the east, the UN has granted Manila's request to extend its continental shelf beyond 200 nautical miles from Luzon Island, a massive undersea region of major importance. Covering over 13 million hectares, this submerged expanse, once known as Benham Rise, now carries a new name, the Philippine Rise. Still, tensions keep rising. In August, when China published its latest standard map, claiming almost the entire South China Sea with 10 solid dashes forming a U-shape, Manila responded with a sharp diplomatic protest. This aggressive version cuts deep into the economic zones of multiple nations. Philippines, Malaysia, Vietnam, Brunei, Indonesia all find themselves under threat. But before the Philippines takes its new map public, it must clear a series of legal and strategic hurdles to make sure it aligns fully with international law, including UNCLOS and the 2016 tribunal ruling. Government officials are confident, though. They see this move as essential, especially with other major powers like India and Taiwan also pushing back against Beijing's map-making spree. Why should this matter to anyone outside Asia? Because this isn't about far-off islands. This is about who controls one of the world's most vital maritime highways, where trillions in global trade pass through every year. Beneath the waves lie rich fishing grounds, untapped oil and gas reserves, and territory that plays a critical role in national defense. What the Philippines is drafting now is more than a map. It's a strategic maneuver, a message, a bold move in a global game where every square mile matters. And the world isn't blinking. This week alone, protests erupted across Asia as China's newly released map stirred a hornet's nest, drawing new lines of confrontation across both land and sea. The heart of the controversy is the 10-dash line. But the pressure isn't confined to the sea. China's updated map has stretched into even more disputed areas, including India's Arunachal Pradesh and Aksai Chin, and even parts of Russia's Bolshoi and Ossuriski Islands. A new dash placed east of Taiwan suggests Beijing's ambitions are reaching wider than ever. The backlash came fast and hard. At least 6 nations, including the Philippines, India, Vietnam, and Malaysia, wasted no time issuing official rejections. In India, public outrage surged as the map appeared to cut deep into its Himalayan frontier, rekindling historical tensions that never fully cooled. Security experts are also sounding alarms about Japan's Ryukyu Islands, with concerns growing in Tokyo that China might be setting sights there next. But the Philippines has seen this before. In 2016, Manila took a firm stand against China's sweeping maritime claims at the Permanent Court of Arbitration and secured a landmark legal win. The tribunal struck down China's expansive claims, saying they had no standing under international law. Still, China came back louder, this time with a 10th dash and even broader claims. Within hours of the 2023 standard maps release, the Philippine Department of Foreign Affairs issued a sharp rejection, reinforcing the country's position on sovereignty. And they're going further. Behind closed doors, another powerful update is taking shape, one that could spark an even bigger firestorm. This new version may feature something highly symbolic, the inclusion of Sabah, located at the northern tip of Borneo Island. Though officially part of Malaysia today, the Philippines continues to hold a historical tie to Sabah, stretching back through centuries of royal grants, colonial agreements, and political transitions. To understand the claim, one must go back to the 15th century, when Sabah was ruled by the Sultanate of Brunei. After aiding Brunei in a civil war, the Sultan of Sulu received control over parts of Borneo in 1658. Then entered foreign powers. By the mid-1700s, British interests had arrived. In 1761, British officer Alexander Dalrymple signed a trade deal with the Sultan of Sulu, marking the beginning of European involvement. In 1878, another British figure, William Cowsey, arranged a lease deal for the same territory, placing control in private British hands. This led to the formation of the British North Borneo Chartered Company, which took over administration with full backing from London. In 1888, North Borneo became a British protectorate, but the company remained in control until World War II. Japan seized the area during its occupation from 1942 to 1945. Afterwards, Britain resumed control and declared it a crown colony in 1946. Then in 1963, it was merged into the newly formed nation of Malaysia. But the Philippines never let go of the claim. As regional tensions escalate and China redraws the map in its favor, Manila is reminding the world that its narrative remains unfinished, and Sabah may soon find its place on the next official Philippine map. What's really at stake here? It goes beyond boundaries. These maps are loaded with strategy, cultural memory, and national identity. They ask a deeper question: who gets to decide the story? As China stretches its claims across the region, other nations are reaching for the mapmaker's pen too, ready to trace their own lines in history. In the months ahead, the geopolitical map of Southeast Asia may be redrawn once again, and how the world views the South China Sea could change with it. When the Philippines gained independence from the United States on July 4, 1946, it didn't simply step into the future. It carved its place into a region still searching for clarity. That moment of independence opened more than a new era. It cracked open a long-running territorial storm that still casts its shadow across the region. Not long after freedom was declared, 7 tiny islands near the northern coast of Borneo, the Turtle Islands, including Cagayan, Tawi-Tawi, and the Mangsi Islands, were officially handed to the Philippines by British-controlled North Borneo. It was a clean transfer, no fuss, no confusion. But Sabah was different. Sabah was a giant by comparison, vast, rich in resources, and politically tangled. It remained under British control, its fate unresolved. That stayed the case until August 31, 1963, when North Borneo, now renamed Sabah, was granted self-governance. That shift opened the gate for Sabah to join a brand new federation, Malaysia. But getting there was anything but smooth sailing. Between 1961 and 1963, as colonial footprints faded, the Cobbold Commission was formed to take the pulse of public sentiment in Sabah and Sarawak over the proposed union with Malaya and Singapore. The findings showed general support, but not without resistance. In Sabah, there was no formal vote take place. Unlike Singapore, where citizens got a say, here the process skipped a public ballot. Despite that, the merger gained momentum. On August 1, 1962, British Governor William Goode signed off on the agreement for Sabah to join Malaysia. The official launch of the federation was set for August 31, 1963, but that plan stalled. Both Indonesia and the Philippines raised heavy objections. As a result, the birth date of Malaysia was pushed back to September 16, 1963. But the backstory got even more layered. Nearly a year before the Federation became official, on September 12, 1962, the heirs of the Sultan of Sulu, once rulers of a sprawling Muslim empire, signed over their rights and authority over Sabah to the Philippine government. President Diosdado Macapagal took that act and ran with it, formalizing Manila's claim. At the core of the argument was an old document, the 1878 agreement between the Sultan of Sulu and the British North Borneo Company. The Philippines argued that it was a lease, not a transfer of sovereignty, meaning Sabah was never truly surrendered. Malaysia didn't see it that way. From Kuala Lumpur's position, the deal was permanent, and Sabah's people had already made their choice in 1963 when they joined Malaysia. For them, that chapter is sealed. But the conversation never disappeared. While Malaysia views the matter as history, the Philippines has never walked away. Every time regional tensions flare, the topic rises again, like an old current drifting back to shore. This isn't a dispute lost in dusty archives or forgotten signatures. It's a living reminder of how empires, monarchies, and colonial handshakes continue to shape modern politics. And now, as countries redraw maps and reassert identity, Sabah remains a glaring symbol that history doesn't go quietly, it echoes.
To fully understand how far back these lines stretch, we need to travel even further into the past, to the 1600s. This was the age of exploration, when world powers stretched their maps across oceans. One of the most remarkable early maps of the Philippines came from a Jesuit priest named Pedro Murillo Velarde. Published in Manila in 1734, this map was anything but ordinary. It was the first scientific representation of the Philippine archipelago, and it earned an immortal place in the country's story. During that time, the Philippines was a cornerstone of Spain's empire in Asia. The map didn't simply sketch islands, it charted the maritime arteries connecting Manila to Spain, to Mexico, and to distant ports in the Spanish world. Beyond navigation, the Murillo Velarde map became a statement. It wasn't just about where the Philippines was, it was about who the Filipinos were. Framing the map were 12 ornate engravings, 6 on either side. 8 showed the ethnic diversity of the islands, while the other 4 zoomed in on key cities and regions. This map didn't hang silently on a wall. It spoke. It portrayed a land full of character, complexity, and connection. Fast forward to now, and those same waters Velarde once documented are again in focus, but now as battlegrounds for sovereignty and survival. Because this time, it's not about mapping what's new, it's about protecting what's being destroyed. The Philippines has sounded a dire alarm. Coral reefs in the West Philippine Sea are being systematically ravaged. The epicenter of this environmental disaster? Huadang Jiao, a reef located in the middle of disputed waters in the South China Sea. Reports from the Philippine Western Command paint a bleak picture. Large-scale coral harvesting is underway around Rizal Reef in Escoda Shoal, near Palawan. The devastation is undeniable. Coral beds stripped bare, ecosystems broken apart, lifelines for fish, coastal families, and the ocean itself silently erased. Though the Philippine Department of Foreign Affairs stopped short of naming names, the target was obvious. The statement condemned the ongoing presence of foreign vessels wreaking havoc on protected reefs, an act that goes against the 2016 Arbitral Tribunal ruling and threatens everything these waters stand for. Washington didn't hold back. The U.S. ambassador to the Philippines expressed grave concern over what's happening at Rosal Shoal, warning that environmental damage in the region is rapidly intensifying, and that it appears driven by the same maritime aggression coming from Beijing's expanding presence. Once celebrated as a cradle of maritime trade, cultural exchange, and shared history, the Philippine seas have become a front line. The conflict today isn't only about territory, it's about defending life itself. As coral reefs vanish under pressure, the stakes have grown too large to ignore, because this is more than a geopolitical dispute. It's about protecting a vibrant living system. It's about preserving the foundation of food security, national identity, and ecological balance. For the Philippines, this isn't about where one map ends and another begins. It's a fight to protect the living pulse of the nation, a battle for the waters that give it life, meaning, and future.